person. You're not a nice person.
Welcome, one and all. Ladies and gentlemen, to The Late Show. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert.
Oops, hey everybody, welcome. It's Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Streaming on WMNHradio.org. And of course, you can listen, as many of you are, no doubt, during your afternoon commute on WMNH 95.3 FM in your vehicle. It's funny that, so no countdown. I had to go right to the theme music of the show. I made a little technical error at the top of the show. And but it's ironic that I did that one day after, yesterday Mike Doyle was here in the studio with me. Had a great time with Mike. But one of the things he mentioned to me, and I don't remember if he said this on air or off air, but he was commenting about how much he enjoys the show. And he specifically brought up how much he enjoys the intro. He enjoys the whole countdown. And then, so it figures that the very next day I forget to load the countdown and something else starts playing. And so I have to go right to the what is called heavy hard rock, the generic term for the file that I play at the beginning of the show after the countdown. So no countdown. Maybe we'll play the countdown intro in the as we enter the second hour today at 5 p.m. We do have a guest coming in today. Musician Katie Dobbins, who has a show coming up in the local area. She's going to be at the Auburn Pits. She's going to be coming in for an interview in the second half of the show, and she's going to play for us live here in the studio. So very excited about that. She's very talented, and I look forward to meeting her. And let's see, in the first hour, well, we're probably going to talk about Omarosa because Omarosa Manigault Newman. Yes. Trump called her a dog today on Twitter, which, according to some, does have some racial overtones. But I think he just likes insulting people. Hello to NASCAR Nicey, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. So, of course, the number to call, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. I would love to hear your dulcet tones, or you can always opine in the Facebook live chat. You can also post on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, either in the chat or just on the page, if you have something for the show or anything at all. Let's see. Of course, you can tweet me, by the way, at Matt Connarton. So you have no shortage of excuses. Well, no, you have no excuses. You do have a shortage of excuses if you have no excuses. I shouldn't have said you have no shortage of excuses, because if you're really paying attention, to say you have no shortage means that you, in fact, do have excuses. But you have none, is what I was trying to say. It's kind of like when people say I could care less. People say that all the time, I could care less. But how many people actually notice that all the people who go around saying I could care less, they're saying it wrong? The actual expression is I couldn't care less. But at some point, and I estimate it happened around 1987, the entire English-speaking world just got lazy and said, you know what, let's just drop the int from couldn't and just say I could care less. The problem is, the int on the couldn't actually matters, because if you say I could care less, that means you actually do care. You must care somewhat if it's possible for you to care less. So the correct, every once in a great while, I'll hear someone actually say it correctly, and they'll say, I couldn't care less. And when they do, I get very excited, because it's like, oh my God, somebody else on the planet who actually knows the correct way to use that expression. I have a lot of language pet peeves. I've got a million of them. You want to know what one of my biggest ones, and I don't know if I'm becoming desensitized to it, and that's why I'm not noticing it as much, or maybe this is finally starting to die out, because I think we're about 10 years into this particular one, but I still cringe every time I hear it. We're at least a decade in, and I cannot get used to hearing the phrase whole nother. drives me nuts. I seriously, it's been at least a decade since that entered the American vernacular, and I still cannot get used to hearing the phrase whole nother. And I knew we were in trouble when, I mean, it's one thing when you hear people who speak poor English anyway say something like that. But I also, after a while, I began to notice that even really educated, well-spoken people were starting to say whole nother, to the point where now, I mean, I'll be listening to a very sophisticated program on National Public Radio, and I'll hear people, journalists, respected journalists using the phrase whole nother, and it's like, oh my God, it's still, I shudder whenever I hear it. I cannot get used to it. And the most bothersome thing about that particular phrase to me is because usually these things happen because people get lazy in how they speak, and it actually becomes easier to say things incorrectly, right? That's why people say I could care less instead of saying it correctly, and I couldn't care less, because I could care less takes up less effort, right? That's why people say cuz instead of because, or gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to, right? It's something, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal, although I do make somewhat of a conscious effort not to do those things as a broadcaster. But what's so annoying about whole nother is it's actually easier to say it correctly. It actually takes less effort phonetically to just say whole other than whole nother. So why bother with making a contraction out of the word another? Why not just say whole other? That's actually easier. We have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's this?
Yo, Matt, I couldn't care less.
Oh, you're killing me.
Nobody thought of me.
You're killing me.
What are you doing today?
What?
Dude.
What am I doing today? Is that what you said? I'm doing a radio show.
Nobody about.
And complaining.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm complaining. That's what I'm doing today. What are you doing today?
I could care less.
Oh.
I could care less.
Well, see?
Nobody nothing to do today, bud.
But see, you said you could care less, which means you obviously do care, which explains why you were asking me what I'm doing today. See? See? Now, at least that person didn't insult me by saying, that's a whole nother thing or something like that. That would be horrifying. No, you know what I mean, though? It's easier to say it correctly. Or what's, I'm trying to think of another big one that really just drives me nuts. Oh, yeah. This one is not leveled off. This one continues to get worse, and it drives me nuts. And everybody says this word now. There is no such thing as the word I'm about to utter, that I'm about to debase myself by uttering. But everyone says this wrong now, again, including educated, well-spoken people. And that word is incidences. There is no such word as incidences, and it makes me cringe every time I hear it. Now, I know where incidences comes from. It's an amalgam of the word incidents and instances. So in someone's brain, if they can't figure out whether to say incidents or instances, they end up saying incidences. But there's no such word. And again, isn't it easier to just say it correctly? It's fewer syllables. Isn't it easier to just say incidents or instances than incidences? Why make the word longer? And by the way, this one, I can't say for certain that this is where it started, but I can tell you where I first noticed it. And I'm not trying not to make it a political thing, but this is where I first started hearing that word, that made-up word. 2004, during the presidential campaign of 2004, I distinctly recall noticing for the first time Republicans on Fox News making the case that George W. Bush deserved re-election because since 9/11, there had not been any further incidences of terrorism on American soil. That's where I first started to hear it. I don't remember who the first person was who I heard say it, but I distinctly recall it was on Fox. I heard these people say, oh, yeah, we got to re-elect him because there aren't been any further incidences of terrorism. And I just remember going, what? Incidences? There's no such word as incidences. You could say incidents. You could say instances, but incidences? But then I started Like, it's like a virus. It spreads. Next thing you know, everybody's saying it. Today, everyone says it. And it makes me shudder. I've got a million of these language pet peeves, I'll tell you. I'll stop on that and we'll move on because we got some Omarosa to discuss. But anyway, and by the way, I know, look, I'm not sitting here speaking the Queen's English. I recognize that. But some of these things, like, a whole nother, though, that just sticks in my craw more than anything. How do people say that and not just instinctively know that they sound, well, no offense, but kind of stupid? But I don't know. But everyone says it now. Whole nother. God. Seriously, it's easier to say it right. Okay. Let's see. By the way, just a couple quick things. If you missed yesterday's show, it is up and available at WMNHradio.org, as all the shows are archived there, everything that happens here at WMNH. It was a fun show yesterday. Like I said, Mike Doyle came in. He was here for the whole 2 hours. I did tell him he's welcome back anytime. Had a lot of fun with him. And also because Mike participated also, asked some great questions. Our interview with C.J. Buck of Buck Knives and the American Knife and Tool Institute. And I want to have him on, maybe on a regular basis every now and then to discuss legislation that's happening around knives and whatnot. NASCAR Nicey in the Facebook live chat says probably, which is, of course, slang for probably. Yeah, that I only hear once in a while. See, that's a little different because, see, you know where the line is for me? Like, it's one thing if I hear somebody, in a song or something, or somebody just texting something or something like that. There are instances or incidents where I don't mind. Like something like that, I don't mind. But when I hear intelligent, well-spoken people saying something like "whole nother," it's like, ugh. But what can you do? Language, it does change over time, and like I said, I'm sure sometimes I say "cuz" instead of "because" and "gonna" instead of "going to," and whatever. All right. You know who does speak perfectly? She's very well spoken for a woman whom our president refers to as a dog. Omarosa. And by the way, that was the opening song that I played for you. A cover of Lola by the Kinks that was done by my favorite YouTuber, Rocky Mountain Mike, called Omarosa. And she certainly has dominated the news cycle. Now, there are credibility issues regarding Omarosa, of course. But there's also the issue of, and this is what I'm really curious about, is what she did legal. Now, we did discuss this a little bit on the show the other day. There are states, in terms of wiretapping and in terms of covertly recording a conversation and whatnot. Now, my very basic layman's understanding about this, because I'm not an attorney, obviously. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. I mean, I'm so well-spoken, I could be, right? No, I'm kidding. But, no, I hear, believe me, I hear attorneys say I could care less. My understanding is, there's two kinds of states in the country. This is probably a hypersimplification, but this is my basic understanding. You have two kinds of states. You've got one-party states and two-party states. One-party states are states where, according to that state's laws, only one person has to consent to a recording. So you can, in a one-party state, you can secretly record a conversation that you're having with another person. You're one of the two parties. You consent to it. After all, you're the one initiating the recording. You don't need the other person's consent, and that's legal. Two-party states, both people have to consult. Both people have to consent to being recorded, right? And there was some question, again, when this came up the other day about, well, okay, Florida is a two-party state. So for her to, but Washington, D.C., which is a district, but Washington, D.C. is one party. So in Washington, D.C., it's actually legal for her to make a recording without John Kelly or the president or whomever consenting, but in Florida. So, and the reason Florida matters is because, that's Trump's winter White House, as I've heard it called, right? Florida, Mar-a-Lago. He loves to go to Mar-a-Lago and do business there or be president there. That's what I mean. So if she did that in Florida, she may have some legal exposure. But I don't know, did she do that in Florida? I don't think she's claimed that any of the recordings that she has were made in Florida. But there's a deeper thing, right? So this is more than, okay, is it okay if she did this in a one-party state? Is she legally clear because it's a one-party state and you only need one-party consent? Because we're talking about recordings in the freaking White House. And we're talking about the recording she made of John Kelly firing her was made in the Situation Room of the White House. Is there not some other law that comes into play here? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But you would kind of think there would be, but maybe not. Because maybe it never occurred to anybody before to even try to get away with it. I mean, I'll tell you what. Whether I think that what she did was ethically correct or whatever the legal status is, this woman has some cojones to, figuratively, of course, because she is female, even though we're not supposed to distinguish gender anymore. Very un-PC of me. I'm sorry. But she does, I believe, self-identify as a woman. So what do you say instead? She had the ovaries to, well, whatever. But the point is, she had the gumption. Ooh, that's a good word, too. Gumption. It's one of those words that we don't use enough. She had the gumption to try to get away with, and did get away with, secretly recording in the Situation Room of the White House. Now, but again, is there not some law against that? Does she have legal exposure for, potentially, again, she was recording in the Situation Room. Does she have legal exposure for potentially threatening national security? By recording in the Situation Room of all places. So I don't know, but I'm interested, and I hope you are too, in learning more about this. And I'm sure she's now I assume she has attorneys who have advised her, no, Omarosa, you're fine. I would think she would have legal counsel, but I don't know. So I looked it up right before the show. I didn't have a chance to pre-read this, so I have no prejudgments about this. I'm genuinely curious. I hope you are. So here's something I found. This is from Vox.com. Did Omarosa's secret recordings break the law? I asked a legal expert who said it's a huge, embarrassing security breach. That is true. All right, so here it is. This is from VoxNews.com. Omarosa Manigault-Newman is having a moment. The reality TV star turned prominent White House aide kicked off her book tour this weekend by alleging that Trump uses racist language and by releasing a secret recording of White House Chief of Staff John Kelly firing her in the White House Situation Room. When Manigault-Newman recorded Kelly inside one of the most high-security locations in the White House, she broke with established safety protocols, you think? But there was no classified information discussed, so it's not immediately clear if this constitutes an internal rule violation or a criminal act. Several Trump allies, including his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, geez, do we really want to rely on him, have implied that Manigault-Newman may have broken the law by covertly recording conversations in the Situation Room. Giuliani said Monday on Fox and Friends, quote, she's certainly violating national security regulations, which I think have the force of law. But is he technically right here? It's certainly a breach. Wow, I don't know why we would question that. Rudy Giuliani has been so consistent in everything that he says, and I say that with some sarcasm. Actually, he's kind of got the crazy eyes going. If you ever really watch him on Fox, he looks a little, I don't want to say anything more. I don't want to speculate or, indulge in conjecture about his mental health, but there are some theories. Anyway, but we'll leave that alone. I don't want to get sidetracked here. He is, after all, America's mayor. And why shouldn't he be revered? I mean, he profited tremendously off of all the speeches he gave post 9/11 and really became quite wealthy. Nothing wrong with that at all, I guess. Anyway. All right, so is he technically right here? It's certainly a breach of White House norms and regulations, but did she actually break the law, and what does it suggest about this White House that a breach of this sort was even possible? To get some answers, I reached out to Stephen Vladeck, a law professor at the University of Texas who specializes in national security and constitutional law. A lightly edited transcript of our conversation as follows. Okay, and this is, by the way, it's Sean Illing who wrote the article for Vox. So this is Sean Illing talking with Stephen Vladeck. Okay. So Illing says, first of all, did Omarosa commit a crime by secretly recording John Kelly in the White House Situation Room? Vladeck says, probably not. If you try hard enough, you could make a whole lot of things violations of the Espionage Act. And someone who sat down with a copy of the Espionage Act could probably find a way to argue that Omarosa violated it, but I don't see any way to make that argument legally plausible. Illing says, so it would take some significant legal acrobatics to turn this into a prosecutable crime. Vladeck says, yeah, I think so. There's no question that this is a violation of all kinds of safety protocols, but there's a difference between breaking the rules and breaking the law, and this appears to be the former, not the latter. Illing says, if she taped conversations involving classified materials, does that then become a violation of law? Vladeck says, absolutely. It's a crime to record or share sensitive information that you're not legally authorized to have, and so there's no doubt that a recording of a discussion of information that is classified would violate the Espionage Act, but there's no evidence, as of now, that this has happened here. Of course, that could change if more tapes are released. Well, that's a good point. We don't know what else Omarosa has. She could have a treasure trove of stuff. Let's see. So Illing says, Omarosa did not have a security clearance while she worked in the White House. If she did, would that alter the legal implications here? That's an interesting question. Vladeck says, again, we have to be careful to distinguish between breaking the rules and committing a crime. I don't think it's a crime for someone who has a security clearance to record a conversation somewhere they're not supposed to record a conversation. Illing says, ultimately, it would still hinge on the content of the conversation. And Vladeck says, right, if she and John Kelly had a discussion in the Situation Room about whether the Washington Nationals have enough relief pitching and she recorded it, that would not be illegal. But if she recorded and released a conversation about the president's classified daily briefing, that would absolutely be illegal. Well, I mean, Omarosa, say what you want about her, but I think she's smart enough to not do that. I would think, I would hope. Illing says, at the very least, allowing someone to walk around the White House with an active recording device seems like a major security breach. Vladeck says, of course it is. It's a huge, embarrassing security breach. It's a security breach for which various people in the administration should be held responsible. But not all security breaches are crimes, and we start tumbling down a slippery slope if we treat them otherwise. Illing says, does this speak to a broader security issue in this White House, which is staffed to an unusual degree with people with little to no experience in government? Vladeck says, it's not just a lack of experience. It's an aggressive indifference to following the rules that normally govern how senior executive officials do their jobs. It's the latest in a long and numbing line, excuse me, line of examples that this White House just doesn't take security seriously. Illing asks, Trump and former White House staffers are apparently exploring ways to prevent Omarosa from releasing more tapes. Can they do this? And Vladeck says, they can try, but there is no action that courts are more aggressively skeptical of than efforts to restrain speakers from speaking before they speak. So it's highly unlikely that any effort to preemptively silence Omarosa will succeed. And that's the end of the article. So based on that, I mean, his opinion, clearly, Stephen Vladek's opinion is Omarosa is likely in the clear legally. I want to talk a little bit, though, and I referred to this earlier, about her credibility. Now, those NASCAR Nicey in the Facebook live chat says, all phones are recording devices. How could they ban cell phones? Well, that's a good point. That's a really good point, and I'm sure it's something that those who are tasked with, trying to monitor information that's being leaked out. Well, and I use the word leak very specifically because if you remember, who was it? Well, I think Sean Spicer tried to address it, but I think it was John Kelly in his capacity as White House Chief of Staff who at one point said he was going to ban everyone from having cell phones in the White House while they're working because this is the leakiest White House in American history, seems to be, right? But how do you even practically do that? Like, everyone relies so much on their mobile devices for everything. I mean, not just, looking at Facebook while they're supposed to be working, right? But, I mean, presumably people use their mobile devices to complete tasks involving their work and whatnot, even in the White House, I would assume, probably maybe more than anywhere, right? Monitoring the news and whatnot. So I remember that allegedly had come up at one point, or they were going to start inspecting everyone's phones regularly to try to figure out if there were leaks going on. But Nicey makes a great point. I mean, if you're walking around with a cell phone, you have, and I don't know how, and I don't know if Omarosa has explained this exactly how she recorded everyone, if she had a recording device on her, or if it was simply a matter of she had a recording application open on her phone. So because however she did this, right? Either she had recordings going all the time, or she was able to, and this is something I'm curious about too. Like if she ends up in the Situation Room of the White House, right? Somehow she managed to activate a recording, whether it's a separate recording device, whether it's on her phone, whatever. Somehow she managed to click record on something and capture that conversation right from the beginning, or almost from the beginning, right? Actually, the conversation with John Kelly, it sounds like it was right from the beginning, and the recording that was also put out there of her with Trump also sounds like it's from the very beginning. How was she able to do that and do that covertly enough? I'll tell you what, she's good. Whether I think what she did is ethical, and I certainly have qualms about it, I give her respect for, she's smooth, she's a smooth character. She should be a spy. They should hire her at the CIA or something. I'd say she could go undercover, but everyone knows Omarosa. She'd have to wear some sort of disguise. There are those on the right and those who would defend Trump who are being very critical of the so-called liberal media for giving Omarosa all this credibility by covering this. And to that, I would say, look, you can't ignore it. It's a big deal. You've got someone who worked in the White House who's now leaking these tapes publicly and who even wrote a book called Unhinged, questioning the mental capacity of the president. You can't, what are you supposed to just ignore that? So the media is kind of in a no-win situation in that regard, because you're going to have those on the right who say, oh, look at the liberal media. They're just trying to tear down Trump. However, I'm going to defend some of the so-called liberal media in this regard. I think the media actually deserves some credit in how they are approaching this. Of course, they're reporting on it. Of course, they're giving Omarosa airtime. It's a big deal. Nicey says, dress her up like Rick James Bond, LOL. I think I know what, and Nicey might be referring to, I get the joke, but there might be something a little bit deeper there, because story relating to who might be the next James Bond that we might get to if we have time today, because it's kind of interesting, but because it's got some people worked up. But I have to say, from what I've seen in the media, they've been very responsible in that they are approaching Omarosa with some skepticism. Again, those who like to make a lot of hay about the media so liberal and they're just against Trump. And by the way, there's been instances where some of that criticism I think has been valid. There's also a lot of instances where I disagree with some of that criticism because, look, if you're going to show a video of Trump saying that you need an ID to buy groceries when everyone knows that you don't, I'm sorry, but that's not the liberal media out to get Trump. That's the media showing a video of Trump behaving like a buffoon, as he so often does. That's not the media's fault, but when the president says buffoonish things in public, I think we need to know that. But I have to defend, so I'm defending the media on that, but I'm also defending the media on this. I'll give you an example, and then I'm going to play you an example. So I saw Omarosa's interview with Chuck Todd from Meet the Press. Chuck Todd, I thought in his questioning, believe me, it was, in no way was it this fawning thing where Chuck Todd is just giving her all this credibility and talking to her like, like he believes everything that she says, every negative thing that she says about Trump and whatnot. Chuck Todd definitely asked some hard questions and did approach it with a lot of skepticism because Omarosa herself has displayed some unhinged behavior. I mean, I never watched The Apprentice, but I remember all the way back in 2004 when Omarosa was on The Apprentice, and the public's perception of her seemed to be that she was a little bit unhinged, and some of her behavior during her time in the White House seems a little bit unhinged. I mean, I'm sure many of you have heard the story about when she got married and then she showed up with her entire wedding party at the White House thinking that they were going to take wedding photos inside the White House. And of course, she hadn't cleared this with anybody in advance. She just thought, I'm Omarosa. Of course I get to do this. And, and of course she wasn't allowed to do that. And that's probably one of the reasons John Kelly felt like he finally had to fire her. Right? So I want to play for you a little bit of a clip of them discussing Omarosa on Morning Joe. And, I like Morning Joe on MSNBC. I've often said, Joe Scarborough, he's the kind of Republican I could vote for, although he's not technically a Republican anymore. Apparently he's an independent now. He kind of decided he was done. But I'm going to play for you a little bit of this clip. And part of it is it's entertaining, and Scarborough says something I think is really, really funny in this. But also, too, again, because MSNBC, they're the liberal network, right? They're the liberal counterpoint to Fox's conservatism. And I like MSNBC, but I have no problem telling you, obviously, MSNBC is coming from the liberal side, clearly. Their news is through a liberal lens. But listen to this clip, and then, tell me if you think that they're just giving Omarosa all this credibility and trying to, and they're trying to use her as a weapon. And they're very hard on Trump on Morning Joe and on MSNBC, obviously. But try to listen to this clip objectively, and you tell me if you think that they're being unfair to Trump and automatically buying into everything that Omarosa is saying. Okay, here it is.
So moments ago, NBC News exclusively aired a second audio clip from Omarosa, the Omarosa tapes on the Today Show. This 24-second excerpt from a longer phone call which she had with the president the day after she was fired.
Omarosa, what's going on? I just saw on the news that you're thinking about leaving. What happened?
General Kelly came to me and said that you guys wanted me to leave.
No, nobody even told me about it. Nobody.
Wow.
They run a big operation, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
God damn it. I don't love you leaving at all.
Do you think he's mentally competent to do this job?
No, I don't think he's fit. And as we heard on the recording that you just played, he doesn't even know what's happening in his White House. John Kelly is running this White House, and Donald Trump has no clue what's going on. He's being puppeted, and that's very dangerous for this nation.
NBC hasn't been able to listen to the full recording to know what was said before or after. I'm sorry. And has reached out to the White House for a comment on this part of the reported phone conversation. The conversation was first reported within Omarosa's new book, Unhinged. With us now, White House correspondent for the PBS NewsHour.
I just love Scarborough's attitude. He's, and he's laughing about it. And, come on. I mean, he clearly does not take this seriously. But wait till you hear where this goes next as he's after he introduces the panel.
Yamiche Alcindor, and also columnist for the Daily Beast, Margaret Carlson. Margaret, first of all,
Joe, can I just ask you a quick question?
This is John Heilman kind of interrupting, and he makes a great point here. And this really will give you an idea of just how seriously or how unseriously they're taking Omarosa.
Let me just ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Just to go to the kind of hilarious thing about Omarosa's reaction to this, right? It apparently has not crossed her mind that when she called Donald Trump to say, hey, I've been fired, that Trump knew all about it but just didn't want to be mean to her on the phone. Like if they fired me from MSNBC and it was because you had me fired, for instance. If I called you and said, hey, Joe, I just got fired today. Phil fired me. What would you say?
What?
Oh, John, I had no idea.
No, wait, what? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What? Huh?
Oh my God.
Huh? And then I might go like this. Damn it.
Damn it.
That was the moment for me, Margaret Carlson.
I know, seriously.
That I broke out laughing. It was such an unconvincing damn it. But he just says it under his breath. You wait, what? Hey, who? You've been fired?
Well, he's never said you're fired since he's been in the White House. He's had other people do it, and Omarosa.
Right.
As Sister Margaret said to you, I'm sure long ago, show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. He chose Omarosa. She grew into who she was with him. He brought her to the White House. He gave her the open door. He did all of that. So he certainly wouldn't be shocked by her. She's the best that he had to offer the country. And this is who he is. This is the kind of person he wants.
So, there's a lot more to this clip, but we'll leave it there. But I kind of wanted to make the point that, look, the media is not really taking her seriously. So when I see people on social media saying, oh, look at the media, they're fawning over Omarosa because she's coming out and attacking Trump, they're really not. And if MSNBC, the liberal network, which, again, they are, I would never dispute that. I mean, if they're making that point that she is not necessarily to be taken seriously and that her credibility is to be questioned, then, come on. And so I think the Omarosa thing will blow over. Now, they do still find a way. Margaret Carlson from the Daily Beast, she still finds a way to turn this around and criticize Trump. It's almost kind of like, they deserve each other sort of thing, because she makes the point that, look, Omarosa is a flake and we are not to take her seriously. But who's culpable in this? Trump's the one who thought it was a great idea to bring her into the White House to begin with. So, again, and I don't think it's an unfair question, right, to, question his judgment in terms of bringing her in. I mean, he's the one who brought her in.
You're not a nice person.
So I think that, so I think that's a great point. But I really like the point that John Heilman made, which is that, look, of course Trump is going to act like he didn't know. Now, by the way, it's entirely possible that he really didn't know. And Omarosa's been making the case that, I'm going to call BS on some of what Omarosa says too, because here's the thing. So Omarosa's been making the case that while clearly Trump is mentally incompetent, and I'm not saying that he's not mentally incompetent, by the way, okay, she gives a poor example. She offers a poor example of what she claims is Trump's mental incompetence when she makes the argument that, look, this recording of John Kelly firing me proves that Trump has no idea what's going on in his own White House and he's mentally incompetent. That's BS. When John Kelly says to her, look, everyone in the White House they don't work for the president, they work for me. That's really what a White House chief of staff is supposed to do. A White House chief of staff is supposed to be handling that type of thing, day-to-day operations, personnel decisions, which is what this was, etc. so the president of the United States doesn't have to be bothered with that type of thing. So she's trying to spin it like, oh, John Kelly, he's the one really running things, and Trump is his puppet, and no. He's being a White House chief of staff. That's the job. So she damages her own credibility even making that argument, you know. And then John Heilman in that clip brilliantly says, look, you know, how does it not occur to Omarosa that maybe Trump is just lying to her and actually did know about the firing, but, you know, wanted a buffer, right? And either one is plausible. It's very plausible that he did know and he's just lying to her, or it's possible that he really didn't know, because again, you know, that's why he has a White House chief of staff. The president of the United States isn't supposed to be sitting there like some guy who works in human resources, keeping an eye on who's being hired and fired and combing through applications and sending people for drug tests and all the other things that human resources people do. Right? I mean, I'm being a little hyperbolic with it, but in the reaction to this, Trump, of course, lashes out with these tweets, calling Omarosa a dog, calling her, what else? Referring to her as wacky Omarosa and all this. And there is someone who is someone who considers Trump a friend and a great man, who is actually speaking some truth to power and being critical of Trump on this. And that is, of course, the greatest journalist of our lifetime. No, I'm not talking about Joel the Moose Elber from the morning show, although he is the best newsman in the business. I don't think there's any disputing that. I'm talking about, oh, come on, you already know before I even say it. That's right, Geraldo Rivera, the greatest journalist certainly of my lifetime. According to Mediaite, Geraldo, by the way, I know I've mentioned this on the show before, but for anyone who doesn't know, because I just think it's interesting, did you know that Geraldo Rivera is not his real name? His real name is Jerry Rivers. He changed his name to Geraldo Rivera for effect. He thought it was a cooler sounding name. One of the things that's fascinating about that to me is usually when one in the media or in Hollywood or when someone who is famous has had a name change, it's usually to make their name sound, shall we say, less ethnic, right? Not more ethnic. He actually changed his name to make it sound more ethnic. I'm not knocking him for it, by the way. I'm not. I know I sound like I am. I'm really not. More power to him. I mean, that's, you know, it's marketing. It's, you know, he thought that was a good way to market himself, and he was right. He clearly was right. Had he continued to just be plain old Jerry Rivers, who knows where he might be now. So according to Mediaite, Geraldo Rivera bashes his friend Trump for his intemperate boorish slams on Omarosa. All right, so here's what, again, this is from Mediaite. Here's the story. Geraldo Rivera took a swipe at his longtime pal, President Donald Trump, for calling Omarosa a dog. In a tweet posted Tuesday, the Fox News contributor slammed Trump for what he labeled intemperate, boorish language against Omarosa. Here's what Rivera tweeted. He said, "Fear my friend @RealDonaldTrump undermines himself by using intemperate, boorish language to describe his enemies. I can't stand @Omarosa, a bully, backstabber, and big mouth. But to call her a dog and lowlife is beneath the dignity of the office of @POTUS and open to ugly connotation." Well, Mr. Rivers, I agree 100%, but I would just say some of us kind of already noticed this problem with the president and his tendency to tweet horrible things about people he doesn't like. The man is I mean, he's so thin-skinned. He's constantly punching down, and it's the one thing, by the way, that even the most ardent Trump supporters, even the true believers, it's like the one thing they don't like. If you say, as I have said in conversations with these folks, is there one thing? Is there just one thing that this man has ever done that you find even the slightest bit disappointing? And they'll say, very often, almost always, if they can find something, because for some of them it's very hard because they believe he walks on water, but they'll say, yeah, I don't like the tweeting, and you know, why would anyone? I mean, but some of them don't even mind that, which is mind-boggling to me. I mean, because to me, to be so thin-skinned and to be constantly punching down at people and using these petty schoolyard insults and all that kind of thing, to me, that's a sign of incredible weakness. And I don't really want that in my president. I want a president who's strong. I want a president who's able to kind of be above it all. You know what I mean? Not someone who tweets out, you know, calling someone a dog. You know, but a lot of Trump supporters love that. Oh, he's a fighter. He's a bare knuckle brawler. He's telling it like it is. Well, maybe we could use a little less brawling and maybe a little more grace. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's this?
Hey, Matt, it's Scumpy.
Jeff Scumpy Lorenz. How are you, sir?
That is correct. I'm good, man. I'm listening, and you are definitely correct. I am a Trump supporter, and I love the way the country's going. But the tweeting is horrendous, and the thing I don't like about him, he's so pompous. I know there's a bunch of fake news, but he attacks people for little tiny things that no one freaking cares about.
Right.
And it just makes them look bad.
It does.
It
absolutely.
makes them look bad.
Yeah.
You know, do your job and give up that little petty tweeting and all that bull crap. If you know what I mean.
Absolutely. But he's not going to change.
I agree.
Yeah. He's what is he? 71 years old. He's not going to change now.
Right. And he's so pompous, though. That's the other thing, and that's why these little things they hurt him. And leave it alone. Come on, you know the bashing the president gets. Come on, everyone's making fun of him everywhere, all over the place. Look at Saturday Night Live, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Then someone says one thing, and he has to tweet back some stupid comment. Leave the tweeting alone. Run the damn country and get over yourself.
Right.
You know, you're the president of the free world. You're doing a good job. The unemployment's better than ever. I mean, there's jobs everywhere. The 401ks are going crazy. It's great, but the petty crap's got to go.
Yeah. Nope, I agree. But it's not going to. He's not going to change now.
No, he's not. And that's what it is. He's just, you know, I don't know, a silver spoon kind of guy. I don't know, but he is. He's so pompous. It really upsets me. But I mean, as far as having balls to, you know, stick up for the country and trade and all the different things that are going on is great. But, you know, this petty stuff, he's not a teenager, for crying out loud. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's crazy. You know? Come on. You're not, it's not like you're high school passing notes around, you know? Come on.
Yeah, very well said.
But anyway. Yeah. I gotta run.
All right,
I was listening. Hey, you guys are great. Keep doing a great job.
All right, Scumpy. Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right,
bye.
bye-bye. All right, that was a great call from Scumpy. You can often hear Scumpy, by the way, on the morning show with Peter White and the Moose, which is weekday mornings from 7 to 9 a.m. here on WMNH 95.3. And, of course, there's replays afternoon from 2 to 4 right before this show and on the weekend. But yeah, Scumpy's off and on. Sometimes he sits in for the Moose. This morning on the show, actually, the Moose wasn't. You know, the Moose is a very important man. He's a state rep, and this morning, Paul Cormier was filling in on the morning show. Not that anyone can fill those hooves. Hello, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's this?
Hello, Matt.
I know that voice. It is Eric Gagnon, the entertainment reporter on the morning show.
Hey,
How are you, sir?
You were talking wrestling yesterday, and I was thinking my favorite SummerSlam moment. And you said you used to watch wrestling way back in the day, and it had to be when Hulk Hogan and Macho Man were fighting the Mega Powers way back in SummerSlam days.
1980.
And Elizabeth was their manager, and they were fighting the Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase. I don't know if you remember that match.
That was the very first SummerSlam in 1988.
30 years ago.
The Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. I remember it vividly.
That's right, the Mega Bucks. I couldn't remember their other name. Yeah, and then at the end of the match, Elizabeth took the bottom of her dress off, and Jesse Ventura was the announcer with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon used to do a lot of the announcing back then.
Oh, Eric, wait. I don't mean to correct you, but Jesse Ventura was actually the special guest referee for that match.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. I think Vince McMahon was commentating.
Yep, it was Vince McMahon, and I think it was Bobby the Brain Heenan on the commentary.
Right.
Yes.
And of course, the special guest referee. What's his name there?
The guest ref was Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah, he was distracted by that move, of course, and that was their signal, to end the match.
Yes.
And of course, later on, the Mega Powers broke up. And
yes.
I don't think the Macho Man is in the Hall of Fame yet. I think that should be fixed.
Yeah,
he was a hell of a wrestler back in the day. I know he is.
Well, if anyone deserves, he was my favorite wrestler growing up. If anyone deserves to be in, he deserves to be in. But there's some sort of issue.
Yeah.
He had some sort of falling out with McMahon that's kind of a mystery, and it was never resolved.
Of drug abuse or what he died of. I know Elizabeth too. She died, I think, overdose.
Elizabeth had a problem. But Macho Man had a heart attack while driving, and he crashed into a tree.
Yeah, probably because of using too much steroids, probably.
That will catch up to you. Yeah, because he died young, obviously. I mean, I think he was...
I know a friend of mine said that he was really bulking up on steroids at the end.
Oh, he probably,
he too big.
Yeah. I mean, he was...
A lot of those guys did that stuff, unfortunately, and they still do, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think there's less of it now, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a lot of that generation of wrestlers. A lot of them died around 45 or younger.
I was reading up on that singer Demi Lovato, and she's lucky to be alive. They said she was doing some serious drugging.
Who was Demi Lovato?
For that knocking.
Demi Lovato?
I don't know, once or twice. She would have been dead.
Oh wow, yeah. I haven't really kept up with her.
Yeah, she's got to do some. She's doing it now, some serious rehab, and she's not going to be going on tour anytime soon.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably for the best.
Knocking, that stuff. A lot of people would unfortunately be 6 feet under.
Yes,
A lot of times, you get famous and they have all the money, and they were saying that same drug that she took killed Prince.
Oh, right. The painkillers.
Yeah, look all the money. Look all the money he had. What, $300 million, and he wasn't happy. He was drugging it up.
Well, and what was going on with Prince, from what I understand, is he needed I think he needed a hip replacement. He was in a lot of pain from jumping around on stage.
Oh, really?
And he was a Jehovah's Witness, and so he had to. The only way he would be able to get the surgery is if he had, I think, a bloodless. I don't know how that works, but some sort of blood transfusion, and it would have violated his faith.
Boy.
So he took a pass on that, and but then his dependence on on painkillers increased. I think that's kind of what happened. I try not to dwell on it because that was such a terrible, terrible loss. Absolutely one of my all-time favorite musicians, and I get sad thinking about it. You kind of brought me down.
So Vincent Mann's
Eric.
listening. Let's get the Macho Man in the Hall of Fame.
That's right. No, I absolutely agree.
Well,
we
have a great show.
All right, Eric Gagnon, thank you so much for the call. All right, and speaking of music, we have a musician here in the studio who just entered the room. How are you? Katie Dobbins is here. And Katie, I was going to suggest, if you want to sit at that desk with your guitar, and if you pull that mic up, what I have found is that mic will pick up, both your voice and the guitar while you're playing really, really well, and you'll sound great. You of course were go ahead and pull the mic up, and we'll chat for a minute, and then I'd love for you to play something. But you were let me bring that up. You were just recently on Granite State of Mind, I think, right?
I was.
Yeah. So you're
ago-ish.
Right. Yeah. So you're no stranger to the studio here at WMNH.
Yeah.
And you've got a show coming up locally in the area, right?
Yeah, on Friday, Laconia, New Hampshire, Pittman's Freight Room. Dr. Jack Polidoro is opening for me, and the show starts at 8. So I'm excited. That's
a Dr. Jack Polidoro. Am I saying his name right?
Yep. Yeah.
I'm trying to picture him. That's a really familiar name, but I can't quite. I mean, is he local? Is he from here?
Yeah. He's from New Hampshire. He's local to this area. Plays a lot of open mics around. He's been songwriting for over 50 years.
Okay.
He's a great, wonderful musician, great guy. So.
Okay, I probably know him because the name is so familiar. But you're not from New Hampshire, right? You're from Mass.
I grew up in Guilford, New Hampshire.
You grew up in Guilford.
Yeah,
okay.
So I live in Mass now, but New Hampshire will always be home.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Well, if you want, we can hear something if you want to play something for us, and then we can chat for a bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, go ahead. Play whatever. That guitar sounds really good.
Can you hear it okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. And you can hear my voice okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, why don't you pull it up a little bit closer, just so I can bring you down a little bit here. And
how's this? Better?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, just whenever you're ready, just go ahead and go for it, and then we'll chat a bit afterward.
This is a song from my record, She Is Free. And
there's Katie. I'm sorry. There's headphones there too if you want them. I didn't even
that's
think
okay.
to. Yeah,
I trust you.
It's up to you. Okay.
This is a song from my record, She Is Free, and it's called Bring On the Fire. They say, when will you learn? If you play with fire, you're gonna get burned. But if you don't, you may never feel the heat at all. I'd rather burn alive than be too afraid to fall. Bring on the fire. There was a rebel of a man down in Tennessee. Was told only whites drink this tap for free. He sat down, poured a glass anyway. And called a week later, he was shackled in chains. Said, yeah, I'm gonna do it again. Drink that water till my dying day. And they said, when will you learn? If you play with fire, you're gonna get burned. But if you don't, you may never feel the heat at all. I'd rather burn alive than be too afraid to fall. Bring on the fire. She loved him with all of her might. Didn't care that her skin was white. They got married in the hot summer sun. They thought she was crazy, losing her mind, but she kept her heels and her head held high. Said that love was worth her life. When will we learn? When will we learn? When will we learn? When will we learn? It's not about glory, it's not about fight. I wanna do something with meaning tonight. But there's fear in our hearts from these words in our minds. To overcome that, we need one hell of a fire. And they'll say, when will you learn? If you play with fire, you're gonna get burned. If you don't, you may never feel the heat at all. I'd rather burn alive than be too afraid to fall. I don't wanna be too afraid to fall. I don't wanna be too afraid to fall. I don't wanna be too afraid to fall. You bring on the fire. You bring on the fire. You bring on the fire. You bring on the fire.
Very nice.
Thank
Very
you.
nice. Katie Dobbins here with us in the studio. We're also joined, by the way, by Glenn R.J. Ouellette, who he calls himself the People's Mayor.
Well, I don't call myself that. People call me that.
Right, of course.
I didn't
yes.
create that.
Right, yes. Right. No, Katie, that's great. Now, what is that song called again?
Bring on the fire.
Bring on the fire.
Yeah.
Very good.
Bring it on the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're getting some love in the Facebook live chat.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. And if anyone has a question or anything at all for Katie, the phone line is open, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. I wanted to ask you about, so I was reading about you, and you've got a great website, katiedobbinsmusic.com. And I was looking at your bio, and so you can you talk to us a little bit, because it sounds like a pretty interesting story about how you first decided to really make a go at doing music and really start to embrace and explore your creativity as a musician.
Yeah, man, I've been doing music my whole life, and just like, for fun, like for as long as I can remember, I've been immersed in different kinds of music, dance, singing, playing guitar, piano, all of it. But for a while there, I got really shy about it, kind of fearful, and I don't know, I just felt vulnerable. I was worried people wouldn't like it, just kind of got in my head about it, stopped doing it for a long time. And then I had this kind of just, I don't know how else to say it, but it was a life-changing awakening moment, and I was like, man, it's been so long since I've followed my passions and like really lived authentically the way that I want to live and followed my dreams, and I need to stop being scared of them and just come out and do it. And so I released this record called She Is Free, and when I announced that I was going to record an album, at the time a lot of people didn't even know that I played music or was a singer-songwriter, because
no kidding,
I really just hadn't talked about it. So
so
I kind of did things backwards from some musicians. I did the record, and then I started playing a bunch of shows and everything. So, but it's been such a ride, and it's taught me that it's not worth it to hold yourself back from doing things, because you're not only hurting yourself, but you're actually hurting others, because when you have something burning that bright inside of you and you don't share it, then other people are kind of missing out too. And it's been really cool to like hear stories of people that have connected with some of my stuff, and it's been awesome.
What was it that I mean, was there something specific that helped you to finally sort of embrace what you really wanted to do and break out of that? I mean, it almost sounds like you were in this because you said you kind of like people didn't even know. It sounds like you were almost in this sort of self-imposed
totally
prison.
It's like, it was kind of like, life is good, why change anything, I was comfortable, and there was a life-changing moment. I went through a breakup, and I went through some stuff, and I was, you might say, at a lower point, and I went to a Christian conference down in New York City, because my faith has always been really important to me, and the conference was actually called She Is Free.
Okay.
And it was all about empowering women and stepping out in faith and doing what you feel called to do. And I just felt a huge calling on my life to pursue music. And so, and so that's where the name for the record came from too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then did you decide like immediately right there that's what you were going to do, or was it sort of just the beginning of
It was the beginning, but I had a strong conviction that I was going to come home and play music.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I knew that I was going to come home and join the worship team at church.
Yeah.
I was going to record some songs. I didn't know how yet.
Right,
I
right.
hadn't mapped it out, but
Yeah.
I knew that it was going to be a non-negotiable for me from that point on. So.
And where do you record? Because everything that I've listened to on the, you've got a lot of music on your site. You know, the She Is Free album is up there, and everything.
Yeah.
And everything sounds really good. Like, where do you record?
So that record was done in Guilford, New Hampshire at the Recording Co-op, which is now the Greenhouse Studio. So at the time I did it with Ryan Ordway, who now is located in Maine. But now the Greenhouse Studio is there, and it's still a phenomenal studio.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the person that runs it, but that's where my first record was made. And then now I'm actually recording down in Massachusetts on the South Shore in Rockland, Mass. with Sean McLaughlin.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Ryan had moved away. I'm bummed to hear it. Ryan's awesome.
Yeah.
We probably, because you mentioned Guilford earlier, we probably know a lot of the same people.
Yeah, I'm sure
from the scene up there. But no, Ryan's great. Now, are you so you're now the studio that you're recording at now? How did you come to decide to record there? Because there's so many, as I'm sure you know. It's like there's a million studios out there.
You know, a lot of musicians, they search for a studio, which is like super smart, and I definitely recommend that. But for me, I go with vibe and what feels right. And so my first record, it was the first place I looked, was the Recording Co-op, and I was like, this feels great, I love it, this is gonna be great. And same thing happened with this next record that I'm working on. A friend of mine, Molly Brule, who's a wonderful singer-songwriter down in the Boston area, she just released an album in December, recorded at 37 Foot Productions with Sean, where I am now, and I just loved it, loved the production. I met Sean at her CD release show. He was super nice. We connected, and I reached out a couple months later, told him I was interested in seeing the studio, and then I went, and it was just like, I don't know, we talked for an hour and a half, good vibes, good conversation. It just felt right because a producer-artist relationship has to feel right. Because you spend so much time together, and there's so much creativity and brainstorming and cool stuff that happens. So it felt right, and I didn't look anywhere else.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. Do you write everything yourself, or do you have any songwriting partners, or is it all you?
Interesting that you should ask. I have always just written by myself. I do have one co-written song that was sort of an accident. It was during a guitar lesson. My teacher at the time was like, we're not going to do guitar today. We're going to do songwriting. So let's write a song together. And I was mortified, but it came out great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then right now, actually, Dr. Jack, who's opening for me on Friday at Pittman's, he and I are co-writing a song together specifically for that show. So
cool.
Yeah, that's been really fun. He said it's the first time in his 50 years of songwriting that he's ever done a co-write. And it's my first time intentionally doing one. So.
No kidding. Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Now so you're working on an album now. Is that going to be a full length or?
Yeah, it's going to be. So it started out with I was going to do an EP, and then I just couldn't contain myself. So it is going to be a full 10-song record.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always curious about that because it's, we live in an era where you have so many options online. Some people will record a full length. Some just want to do an EP. Some people just, put out singles,
Yeah. I'm going to put out, I'm going to do some teasers. So I'll do a single in hopefully, in November, and then hopefully one in January or something.
Okay.
So
okay.
We'll kind of let you guys in on the new sound because it's definitely, my songwriting is a little bit different now than it used to be. The songs a lot of them are new and people haven't heard them before. So, so I'm excited to kind of share some along the way. And then the album will come out in the spring.
And
very cool.
Oh, in the spring.
Yeah.
Like March, April, May? Or?
Yeah. So fun fact, I don't know if I want to announce this on radio, but it's happening. I turned 30 in March. So I'm actually going to release it on my 30th birthday.
Oh, cool.
And I'm going to do like a fun birthday party release show.
That's not a bad thing.
Extravaganza. Yeah, I'm excited.
Good thing.
You're younger than us. Especially him. Well, I'm younger than him.
Oh, I'm so old, huh?
But see, if you ever need backing vocals, though, this gentleman here has a golden throat.
You're so funny.
It's kind of an inside joke.
I do not have a golden throat.
You mentioned, too, so you talked about, your faith and how that's a big part of your life. Does that in any way inform your songwriting? Or it sounds like your music is secular, but I don't know. I mean...
It totally informs it. I think that my music will speak to you the way you want to hear it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that
As music should, really.
Yeah, of course, as all music does.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the songs, when I sing them, I am getting a faith perspective out of it. But they're also completely relatable if that's not your jam. But a lot of what I do is inspired just by that outlook and that love. So
yeah. And who are you inspired by as far as who do you like? Who'd you grow up listening to? And
I mean, I grew up with like 90s pop, so
Yeah.
I grew up with like NSYNC, Britney Spears. I mean, I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift. Like, I think she's a genius, just the way she markets herself and the way she's been able to cross over so many genres.
Oh yeah.
I love her. I know a lot of people hate on her, but I think she's like incredible.
Hard to argue with her success.
Yeah.
And Ryan Adams even recorded the whole album of her stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. And she's collaborated with some pretty awesome people. So I like artists who are able to do that, build community, form relationships with people you would never expect them to. And I find that to be super inspiring. So. And Shania Twain, she was always one of my favorites.
Yeah. Cool.
I listen to some country.
That's good.
You like Shania Twain, Glenn?
I do like her. I do like her music. Yes.
Yes.
Did you guys hear today that Aretha Franklin is very ill?
No, but I know she's had health issues off and on. What's going on?
Oh, she's in the hospital. She's very ill, they said.
Oh, lady soul.
How old is she now?
She's got to be
older than me.
Definitely. Yeah, she's got to be up there. Well, we'll hope for the best. Yeah. Well, do you want to? How you feeling? You want to play another song?
Yeah, I feel good.
I'd love to. I'd love to hear something. Yeah.
I'll play this song. Is also from my first record, and it was actually just nominated for Video of the Year at New England Music Awards.
Oh, very cool.
There's a music video out on YouTube for it, and it's really sweet. The people that I wrote this song about are my aunt and uncle, and they actually star in the video.
Oh, wow.
Which worked out for me because then I didn't need to star in the video, so it was a lot of pressure off. No, but
wow.
Yeah, so you can check that out. But this is a song called Post-it Notes.
Okay, great.
Nothing brings a smile to my heart like pedaling beside you on this mountain built for two. I knew right from the start, this love is not a race we're gonna lose. You are beautiful. You wrote on a post-it note, hung it on the fridge for me while I was still asleep. I'm the luckiest in the world. You wrote it on a post-it note, and I woke up to your words in the morning. And I've always had so much love to give. You challenged me to trust myself and all these things I feel. I'm changing and I feel so alive. Skating on this hidden pond with you right by my side. You are all I need. You wrote on a post-it note, hung it on the fridge for me while I was still asleep. You make me all that I can be. You wrote it on a post-it note, and I woke up to your words in the morning. You're gonna be the reason for the crow's feet when I'm old. You're my lifelines and my lifelines, and I know that life is always better when there's two. This cottage is built for one. Can I share it with you? Let's fill this wooden box with all our dreams. I can't live without you. Will you be my family? Because I love you. You wrote on a post-it note, hung it on the fridge for me while I was still asleep. I'm the luckiest in the world. You wrote it on a post-it note. I want to wake up to your words every morning. Yes, I love you. You wrote on a post-it note, hung it on the fridge for me while I was still asleep. I'm the luckiest in the world. You wrote it on a post-it note. I want to wake up to your words every morning. You're gonna be the reason for the crow's feet when I'm old. You're my lifelines and my lifelines, and I hope you forever look forward to my love and post-it notes.
Very nice. Katie Dobbins here in the studio with us.
Thank you.
You're listening to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon, and Katie Dobbins is with us. She just performed live. Glenn R.J. Ouellette is here, too, and give us a call if you'd like, 603-250-6007. Katie's going to be performing at Pittman's Freight Room. That is on the Friday, coming right up, Friday, August 17th at 7 p.m. doors, and the show starts at 8, and that's in Laconia. And, it's funny. Now that I'm looking at the flyer on your website, and I realized why Dr. Jack sounded familiar to me. I've interviewed him, and I just couldn't quite connect it in my mind. I interviewed him on a different show that I do probably a few years ago, I think. But he's also an author, isn't he? Am I thinking of the right guy?
Oh yeah, he's written 9 novels.
Okay, I'm definitely thinking of the right guy then. Yeah. He's really interesting. Yeah, yeah, I like him a lot. And I was looking at your show schedule. You're doing a lot. You're all over the place. Is this kind of the busiest you've ever been?
Yeah. So actually, I'm a teacher full time during the school year.
Oh.
So then during the summer, I get to be off. And this summer, I didn't work at all. And I decided that I was just going to do full time music, play out as much as possible, and just kind of embrace being able to do that, because during the school year it's a bit more of a balancing act. So.
No doubt. Yeah, good for you. No, you're in a good situation then.
Yeah,
that's
been
great.
Super fun.
What do you teach? You teach high school or what?
Yeah, I teach high school special ed, so I work with kids with autism.
Oh, okay. Well, that's challenging work. Wow.
Yeah,
good for you.
It's fun. Keeps me on my toes. Keeps me thinking, problem solving, and they're really fun. So.
Is that what you went into right after college, or?
It is.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah. So
that's
I think
really good.
I always liked the idea of being a teacher, and then I ended up liking the actual job of being a teacher.
Right,
so I've been doing it for, I think, 7 years now.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Well, you find something you love to do, and that's really the key to happiness, I think. So.
Yeah, and I love teaching, but I also love music so much, and it's funny because sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, I want to give 100% to both, but it's so hard to juggle, and I get frustrated with it. But someone recently told me, they were like, you're really lucky that you have 2 careers that you're so passionate about, because some people don't even get one.
That's right.
And I was like, oh man, I didn't think about it that way. I'm so lucky. So
you are.
I am. Yeah.
If you had to give one up, which one would you give up?
That's a tough question. I think that right now I'm having so much fun exploring the music that I probably would just embrace it and go for it full time.
Yeah.
Knowing that teaching is something I can always come back to, but knowing that there might not be another time in my life where I will be able to just like hit the road with no strings attached and do whatever I want with music.
Yeah.
So I think just because of the timing and where I'm at right now, I would do music. I've been considering it, just kind of like hitting the road for a while, just like In other countries, it's really common to take a gap year and just follow a passion for a little while.
Yeah.
And we don't do that here, but wouldn't it be cool if we did?
Do you feel like it's no, you're right. I mean, do you feel like it's kind of actively discouraged in the United States in a way?
Here.
I don't think it's actively discouraged. I think it is like so embedded in our culture to always be pushing on to the next step of whatever you're doing that it's like subconscious. Like, I don't think we realize it's happening.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're on this career track, you're doing this thing, and you never really stopped to think like, is there something else I might want to do? Because it's just those expectations are so ingrained everywhere that you're just going to keep pushing forward and upward.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's very well put. It reminds me of this was actually quite a few years ago, but I read about a study that showed that apparently statistically people who go through some kind of major career change where it's their own choice usually happens in their 30s, because that's when a lot of people figure out what they really want to do instead of what maybe they thought they wanted to do, or maybe what they were pushed into, when they got out of high school and then they went to college and there was this pressure, you pick a major and then you pick a career, and and then when they get into their 30s, that's when they realize, no, actually this wasn't what I wanted. I wanted this.
Yeah.
So,
but to be happy in 2 careers, be thankful, because a lot of people go through a career and they've hated their jobs all their lives and have never changed.
Yeah.
I'm
So
I'm very fortunate.
You are.
Because I don't hate either of my
Right, yeah.
either of my careers right now. So
Yeah.
Keeps
it's
you
always
happy.
a good day, you know.
Yeah. No, that's a great position to be in. And by the way, you mentioned aren't you up for? Because I was listening to your interview with Rob on Granite State of Mind. And by the way, I should mention too, if anyone wants to hear that afterward, that's archived at WMNHradio.org. Granite State of Mind with Rob Azevedo and his interview with Katie. But aren't you up for a few different awards? Or
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Video of the Year, Best in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And Album of the Year.
Very nice.
So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, do you want to play one more song for us?
Yeah. I have a if I finger pick like this, can you hear that?
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
too quiet?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
That's fine.
That's coming through well. Yeah.
I can hear it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Then I'm going to actually play a song off my record that I'm recording right now.
Oh.
And
That's a treat.
yeah, it's not available anywhere yet, but there is a live version from about a year ago of me playing with a band on it
Okay.
on YouTube. So you can find it there.
Has this been played on the radio at all, or is this a world premiere?
It has been played on the radio. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Do you want me to play something else? Do you want me to make up a song right now? Don't say yes.
Okay. All right. We'll hear this one.
This is called Jeep Song for all you people driving right now.
Oh, very nice. I drive a Jeep.
What kind?
It's a red Jeep Patriot.
Oh my gosh, I almost bought one of those. I
Oh.
love those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have bought one.
I
They're
should
great.
have.
Yeah.
I know. I love those. Yeah. This song's about a Wrangler, though.
Okay. Well, good enough.
Take your foot off the clutch, easy now. Take that transmission down. I'll take you all over town in this wrangly top place crown. Put your foot on the gas, easy now. Turn up that radio sound. We're singing all over town in this wrangly top place crown. Don't stall on me, riding with the wind in our seats. Don't stall on me, I'm trying to believe. Turn your eyes to the window, easy now. Let that air blow around. There's views like this all over town from this wrangly top place crown. Don't stall on me, riding with the wind in our seats. Don't stall on me, I'm trying to believe. I wanna be free, wanna be free. Take your foot off the clutch. Easy now.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Katie Dobbins live with us in the studio, and we should actually I'll let you tell us again if you want to remind everybody about the show this Friday.
Yeah, so I am playing a live show this Friday night, August 17th at Pittman's Freight Room in Laconia, New Hampshire. Doors open at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 8. I'll be playing with a bassist and a violinist, so it's going to be a little different from my typical solo live shows. So come on out. Dr. Jack is opening, and he's an amazing New Hampshire artist, so you don't want to miss it. We have a special surprise for you. It's not a surprise because I already told you, but we co-wrote a song, and we're premiering it that night. So.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Do you ever sing to your class?
I have gotten asked that question a lot, and the answer is no.
No? It's a calming effect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do different creative projects with my students, but I have not explored music. We've done music in terms of like we do karaoke with them sometimes. We've done just kind of fun things, blow off some steam or celebrate type things, but I haven't tried it as a teaching strategy. Mostly because it's not what my training is, and I'm not sure where to start.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in learning about it because I do keep getting asked that question, and I do have students who love music. And they know that I play. They're always asking like, "Where's your next show? Can I come?" And
that's
I
cool.
just kind of like try
They
to keep
probably
it quiet.
go, "Wow."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any students show up at a show?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. Would that be weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be fine. Like,
Yeah.
It's not like I have anything to hide. It's not like I wear inappropriate clothing and like
You're right.
have a bunch of songs with swears in them. So I think
Yeah.
it would be fine. But it would be weird seeing them outside of the classroom, I think.
Yeah. No doubt.
But
no
probably exciting. I mean, they're so sweet, and in a way, it would be cute that they were being so supportive. So.
Yeah.
And you teach in high school anyway, right?
I do. Yeah.
So they're young adults.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's awesome.
Absolutely, and we'll have to do this again in the future when you've got another show up this way, and
I'd love to.
Especially too when the album comes out. I was thinking to wrap up the segment because I've got your website open here. Maybe I'd play a studio track.
Hey. Yeah.
But I'll let you. What would you like me to play?
Oh.
Obviously, something you didn't already. Play live for
Are
us,
you
but
on my record?
I'm on the listen page at katieDobbinsmusic.com.
Yeah. Why don't you play? We talked about my story getting back into music, and I'll have you play "Something to Be Found," which is the track that I wrote when I was kind of emerging out of that and trying to find myself and my passion again.
Great, yeah. No, I had listened to this earlier, and I really like this track, and it's actually the first track on your album. She is Free.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we'll wrap up the segment with that. Everybody, stick around, take a listen to this. This is really great. Like I said, your studio stuff sounds really good. So, we will. Glenn and I will. Are you sticking around, Glenn R.J. Ouellette, the People's Mayor?
I will.
All right, good, because I have some questions for you.
Well, I'm sure you do. It doesn't mean I have to answer them.
That's true. All right, and Katie, thank you again. And this is Something to Be Found by Katie Dobbins from her album She Is Free.
Will this road take me where I wanna go? Where that is, I have to say, I really don't know. I've been working hard just like I'm supposed to. But these 60-hour weeks, they don't come free. I try to be my best for everyone and everything. But somewhere along this path, I'm losing me. I can't remember the last time I wrote music. I picked up my guitar and played a tune. Trust me, I know that I'm no Elvis. That's something that I always loved to do. Now I gotta get back to her, to that little girl. She smiles at me in photographs. That's why are you so serious? She's begging me to come back home. I'm driving now, hoping somewhere there's something to be found. Everything in me says I gotta get out and get back to her, to that little girl. She stares at me in photographs, her shining eyes delirious. She's begging me to come back home. I went out to dinner just the other day, looked out the window and saw summer rain come sweeping over the mountainside, washing out everything inside. A little old man walked out to his car. I prayed he was going far. Next thing I knew, he backed into a bike, and the biker went outside, pounded on the metal. He was looking for a fight, and I almost started to cry as the man stepped out with fear in his eyes. I thought, this world needs more love. This world needs more love. And it starts with you, and it starts with me. There's no telling what this world could be. Every single hand was outstretched wide. What do we miss just being passerbys? We need more love. It's all in love. How come you can't send your kids to school without worrying if they'll come home to you? You only want what's best for them, but so much is out of your hands. Even the theater's not safe anymore. Oh, what is all this killing for? So many soldiers have died, risking their lives for the freedom fight. But fear is not what freedom means. How can we come together to make this right? I think this world needs more love. This world needs more love. And it starts with you, and it starts with me. There's no telling what this world could be. Every single hand was outstretched wide. What do we miss just being passerbys? We need more love. It's all in love. How come every time I'm in my car there are people with signs saying they are starved? I live in a city full of a laugh, but there are people with no place to sleep at night. I think of all the money that I waste, and I wonder where it's being placed. So many begging outside, risking their lives, they can't win this fight. I walk by, but it doesn't feel right. How can we come together to bring more light? I think this world needs more love. This world needs more love. And it starts with you, and it starts with me. There's no telling what this world could be. Every single hand was outstretched wide. What do we miss just being passerbys? We need more love. It's all in love. We need more love. It's all in love.
That is More Love by Katie Dobbins. And if you missed the interview, it will be up, of course, in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. But if you would like to call, we got about 20 minutes left. We have the People's Mayor, Glenn R.J. Ouellette, here, and you can call us at 603-250-6007.
We always need more love, right?
Now, Glenn, you told me not to ask you about a certain something, so I'm not going to ask you about it.
Thank you.
But I have to ask you about something else. Is it true that you, sir, are running for mayor of Africa?
No. I don't know who made that up, but there's no such thing as mayor of Africa.
Well,
Africa is a continent.
Well, that's
What's
what
the matter with you people?
Well, that's what I thought, but I heard it. I heard it on the morning show.
Well, it wasn't a very wise person that said it because they should have known that it's a continent.
I think it was Peter White who said that.
And I'm an American citizen, and why would I run for a mayor out of another country?
Well,
it makes no sense.
Well, because I was going to... Well, but here's the thing, though.
They've been slow this week, and they've been using my graces too much.
But if you were mayor of an entire continent, wouldn't that make you the most powerful man in the world?
First of all, you wouldn't be mayor of a continent. There's no such thing as that.
Well, but there should be, shouldn't there?
No.
Can we petition the United Nations to have a mayor of Africa?
No.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm trying to help your political career.
I don't want a political career.
Would you at least like to bless the rains down in Africa?
You're funny.
Well, I'm just saying, you know.
I'll just say this.
Yes.
For people who think that it's absurd that I adopted 2 children from Africa, it's not.
No, I think it's a great thing.
And for people who kid about that, that's why we have problems in this country.
Oh, that's why?
We're not supposed to be racial. No wonder we don't get along. You know?
That's true.
And what our government is doing now is not like putting a 5-year-old on a plane. Unheard of.
Who put a 5-year-old on a plane?
He doesn't want to allow the parents to come back and get the kids. He'll put them on the plane. Some of those kids are only 5 years old.
I was going to say, I've heard of unaccompanied minors, but that's a bit ridiculous.
First of all, the planes won't even allow it. You have to be a certain age.
Yes.
And sometimes they make arrangements if you're 10 years old with a stewardess that's there that looks out for you.
Yes.
So that's absurd.
So you were asking me a moment ago, while Katie's song was playing about Manafort.
Yeah.
And I believe...
are they all done?
That was a quick trial, yeah. The defense...
Did he speak?
Excuse me. Apparently, no. Apparently, the defense rested without calling a single witness.
See, I thought that was going to happen because they had options, and after they spoke to the judge, I said, you know what? I don't think he's going to do it. And why would they put Paul on? That would have been stupid. I think.
Yeah. What's he going to say?
Well, we heard him yesterday back in the 90s or early 2000s. He was doing an interview about something. He is a lawyer, by the way. You know that, right?
Paul Manafort's a lawyer?
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
I didn't realize that.
And he didn't do very well. And so I said, if he hasn't changed, it's not going to help him at all.
Right. Well, I mean, he looks like I always say, he looks like a villain from a 70s cop show.
A big one at that.
Like I can imagine Starsky and Hutch chasing him down.
So are they in the room now making the decision?
I assume, yeah. I mean, the defense already rested. I assume they'll come back with guilty, and this guy's going to spend unless Trump pardons him, he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison.
You know what? If Trump pardons him, all the charges that were there and the evidence is there, if he's found guilty, you're innocent until proven guilty. If he's found guilty by the jury and Trump's pardoned him, that would be a shame. That's a bad taste in people's mouth.
Yes.
You know, we have a criminal system to deal with that for a reason. You know?
Yes.
It's not right that these people can commit crimes, high crimes, because, my God, it's just not right.
This is breaking news. Apparently, Omarosa has a conversation. She has a recording of a conversation she had with Paul Manafort.
Oh, really?
No, I'm kidding. I made that up.
I thought so.
But wouldn't that be
Wasn't
something?
it funny that she recorded the president's call to her after she got fired?
Yes.
You know, I really can't blame her, and I don't find that security. First of all, he didn't call her in her office. She was already at home. She'd already been fired.
Right.
And you know what? If the president calls you or calls me, aren't you going to record it?
I would record it.
It's once in a lifetime.
That's like if the president called me, I'd be like, wow, because who would believe it?
That's right.
But
that's exactly what she said. Who would believe that this is what he said?
I mean, I think now you're active in politics. You should get a call from the president. You could probably give him some advice.
He wouldn't take it. He doesn't take advice very well. Remember?
Well,
it's all about me.
Yeah, but you can appeal to him in some way, I'm sure. The call, the astonishing thing is the call that she recorded with John Kelly in the Situation Room.
But again, first of all, she should not have been in the Situation Room. It was already decided. It should have been in the staff room. But they were so afraid that she was going to run out and go talk to the president that they brought her in the Situation Room, which is further away from from the Oval Office.
Yes.
And there's no security here. This was not a security thing. That's the reason why she didn't belong in that room. That room was for security reasons only. That was not a security issue. She didn't get fired for a security issue.
Right.
So I think people are making too much of it. It's called politics as usual. And for Rudy
Giuliani?
You know what I mean.
Yes.
It's been a long day.
Yes.
For him to say that Trump never ordered Comey to stop the investigation, just take it easy on him. He said that was okay. And last night to say it never happened. You can't say two things and say, I'm right all the time. Which one is it?
Well, he's got the...
he's playing a game.
What do you think's going on with Giuliani? There's a lot of speculation there. He's got the crazy eyes.
Well, he's playing the game.
If Rudy Giuliani were in this room and I didn't know him and he was just like talking to me, I'd be afraid of him. I'd be like, he's got the crazy eyes.
I think he's been well trained from Trump.
I'd be calling you. I'd be like, Glenn R.J. Ouellette, I need your help. There's a guy in here who's got the crazy eyes. What can you do?
And I've never really been... I'm not against it, but I've never been in favor of people trying their cases in the public because it doesn't really matter. The public isn't going to make the decision. It has to be going to be the jury.
Yes.
So it's all politics. It's all it is.
Yes.
And it continues to divide our country, which is not good.
But don't you think, Glenn, that being able to convict someone in the court of public opinion is one of life's great joys?
If you can convict them.
I mean, well, figuratively speaking,
it is.
I rather
That's
enjoy.
all it is.
I rather enjoy being able to look at someone whom I think to be guilty, or maybe not. They're not guilty, but I just don't like them, whatever it may be, and just in my own mind condemn them. I think that's it's part of being an American.
Not liking someone is not a reason to condemn someone.
Says you.
Well, that's why our country is so divided. We don't like someone, so we condemn them.
You're a very fair man.
That's right. There's good in everybody.
I think you should.
Paul.
You should run for mayor of Africa.
I will not run
even
for
Paul?
mayor of anything.
You talking about Paul Cormier?
No,
he's a great man.
He is
There's
a
lots
great
of
man.
good in
I'm talking
him.
about Paul Manafort.
Oh, Paul Manafort. Do you think he's related to Paul Cormier?
No.
Oh no, that would be if they had the same last name.
Not only that is they're totally not alike.
Did you know that's
Thank God.
Did you know that's the correct way to say Paul's name? A lot of people mispronounce it. They say Cormier. I have it on good authority. It's Cormier. Like a fine wine.
Cormier.
Cormier.
It is. That's exactly what it is. Paul Cormier.
Paul Cormier.
Paul Cormier.
It's
French.
I can't speak things in French.
But you can say oui, oui, which is not even French.
Yeah, oui, oui, yes.
That's pretty English to me.
Oui, oui, pee, pee, poo, poo. Gerard Depardieu.
Oh, that's a new one.
French fries. French toast. See, I know a few French things. I know the important French things.
Des patates frites, French fries.
What is it?
Des patates frites.
Well, I like to say freedom fries.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a joke.
Because they didn't let us use their airspace to go and start that terrible illegal war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly why they didn't do it. It was an illegal war.
Right, but come on. They should have anyway. We're America, damn it.
So that piece of paper that
The piece of paper
that Trump signed with Kim Jong-un?
Kim Jong-un?
Yeah. Meant nothing, and now we know it. It's such had nothing on it that they're going to have another summit. And in the meantime, they're building new weapons.
Well, it did have something on it. I know this because
Not much.
Well, you know when Trump held it up to show everybody?
Yeah.
Somebody online, one of the news organizations, did a thing where they were able to zoom in on the text, and turns out it's the menu of a local Korean restaurant.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
So if you wanted to order something from, of course, it'd be you'd have to really tip the delivery guy because it would be coming from Korea. But yeah. Yeah, I mean,
it's like the Iranian government is a bad government. They do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a peace treaty with them with nuclear.
Wasn't technically a treaty.
But it was good for 10 years.
An agreement.
And
yes.
the agreement was that on the 5th year you would start renegotiating to get more.
Mm-hmm.
That's how agreements go.
Yes.
And for Trump to say I don't like the agreement, he should renegotiate. Not quit and then, hey, we'll go to war instead. War should always be the last resort.
I agree.
It's not an option unless it's a last resort.
Yes. No, I agree with you.
And threatening governments, how does that help negotiating things?
Well, he only threatens our allies, so there's no risk of retaliation.
Really?
No, that's not true, obviously, because he used to threaten North Korea. Did you see this bridge collapse in Italy, by the way?
Yes, isn't that something?
Death toll's up to 22.
It's been there for, what, 3-4 decades?
Oh.
They were actually repairing it. And I'm wondering if they took down a beam too quickly and without supporting it. Because they were saying this morning that they were actually doing repairs and they were replacing some of the beams. And I'm wondering, did they secure the bridge enough when they replaced a certain beam? We'll find out soon enough, I'm sure. How about that guy who stole the plane and didn't even have a license and flew for an hour and said, now I'm going to commit suicide, and he crashed.
When did this happen?
He was a bag handler at an airport.
When was this?
Yesterday.
This totally got by me. What happened?
Really?
Yeah.
I forget what airport it was in. I'm not sure which one it was. But people are afraid now. The airlines are afraid it could happen again. We need better security.
So a guy just took the plane and...
Well, he's been working there for years.
Yeah.
As a bag handler.
Okay.
So he had security to go behind the planes and put the baggage in the bottom of the plane.
Yeah.
But he decided to go for a ride. And where he learned to fly a plane? Video.
Right.
But he flew it. But he kept going round and round for over an hour. And they're saying, what's he doing? Does he know how to land? And then he said, I may be stupid, but...
How did I miss
now
this?
I realize that this ends and I'm crashing it. And he crashed it.
And he was the only one on the plane?
He was the only one on the plane. Thank God for that.
Wow. Where did it crash?
I'm trying to think. I'm not sure if it was in the States or not.
I didn't know about any of this.
It came in last night.
Wow. That's crazy.
It is crazy. We live in a crazy world, don't we?
We do. Crazy, but that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So, what do you see for the future of our great country as we continue into the Trump administration? You know, we're halfway through 2018, and things seem to be going along without a hitch.
That would be halfway through his first 4-year term.
Yes.
If it continues the way it's going now, it's only going to go downhill.
Oh, Nicey in the Facebook live chat said, talking about the story you were talking about, he said on the radio, the radio in the cockpit, obviously, I know what I'm doing-ish. I played video games. I know how to put the landing gear down.
That's what he said, but he didn't. I mean, he did, but he went straight down.
Right.
He crashed it.
Yeah, you gotta I think the trick is to put the landing gear down and then just kind of cruise in for a nice smooth landing.
Rather, he meant to do what he did. He said, so this is my last act.
But do you think he went into it with the idea that it would be his last act?
That I don't know.
Or do you think he was flying around and he was going, oh, crap, you know what, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble?
Probably got scared and crashed, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd be like, oh, man, I'm going to be in so much trouble.
And how about the guy that got caught for domestic violence for his wife and his kid? And he had a private jet, and he has a license, obviously, and he crashed his plane into the house. And it's lucky that the wife and kid got out, but he died. Did that intentionally. That's so sad.
That is, yeah.
Is that how we solve our problems?
Jenny just messaged me. He also said he had no plans to land anyway. It was an intentional suicide.
I thought it was too.
She sent me a link to the story. Yeah. I guess it was off of
I remember him saying
Seattle.
I remember him saying when they played it that something like, I didn't know I had this in me, but I guess I'm going to commit suicide, something like that.
Stolen plane crashes after airline employee takes off from Seattle airport.
Or Seattle.
Yeah. What? Yeah, this story totally got by me. Wow.
Really?
August 11th. So it was a couple days ago, yeah.
How'd you miss that? It was...
I don't know, Glenn R.J.
Big news.
I've got, you know what? It's because I am so just sort of enraptured, would that be the right word, in this Omarosa story.
Too much on your plate?
It's just all I can't wait to read her book. Unhinged.
Doesn't the White House kind of resemble a soap opera? Every day there's something exciting, although it's not very exciting.
There's a lot of palace intrigue.
Yes. Like Trump does not believe in the family chain. When someone comes here to be an American citizen, you don't go get your whole family. Yet he made sure that he fast-tracked his in-laws. That's being hypocritical.
That's an example of chain migration right there. Yes.
And it's wrong. Just because he's president, he's not any better than anybody else. He needs to follow the rules.
I actually don't have a problem with that. She's the first lady. It's her parents. I actually don't.
I'm not against what happens.
I don't have a problem
with it.
The thing is,
he should have had nothing to do with it. He's against that. It's called being a hypocrite.
No, I agree with you.
It works for me, but you guys can't have it done for yourselves.
And the whole chain migration thing is a myth anyway. There's really no such thing as chain migration. It takes a
long time.
It takes a long time to bring in any of your relatives, and it's an incredibly arduous process. And they throw this term around, chain migration. They try to make it sound like, because it's applied to legal immigrants. They try to make it sound like, oh yeah, somebody gets into the country illegally, and then they just get to bring their whole family. And it's like,
it's not how it works.
It does not. No, you're right.
Well, they did for Trump, but it's not how it's supposed to work.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't work that way at all.
Now, they were already in the country with a green card. He just fast-tracked it.
Yeah.
You and I couldn't do that.
Right. And I don't, like I said, I don't have a big problem with that. But
it's still hypocritical.
It is.
You don't create a policy and don't follow your own policy.
Right. No, I'm with you there.
And you don't put a 5-year-old on the plane to go back to your parents. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's just not very responsible.
Well, we're seeing a lot of abnormalities in our times.
Certainly
in
are.
The current administration. Even, I don't know if you heard it earlier, Scumpy called in, and he's a Trump supporter. He likes Trump, but he was very emphatic about how he does not like the tweeting and the insults and all that, and wishes Trump would just grow up. And he was very,
critical?
Very, very critical of Trump on that score. Yeah.
You know what's so funny is Trump keeps saying, I know the best people. I will hire the best people. I will vet them myself. Yet he's the one that hires them and fires them and then calls them a dog.
Right.
You can't blame nobody but himself. He's the one that hired them. Everyone that got fired was hired by Trump. He had the last say. Well, the Congress did in some places, but he made the recommendation.
Yeah, well, Congress had no say in the hiring of Omarosa. I mean, she was just hired for a made-up position.
The only one that Congress had a say in was the Senate, was those that were department heads.
Yeah, they have to confirm some people.
Yeah. And then to offer her a $15,000 a year job and stay at home to cover it up, just keep saying nice things about me.
Right. Sign that non-disclosure agreement. There's money in it for you.
Yeah,
I would take that deal.
First of all, we've been told that that wouldn't have been legal. This was not for security reasons. So.
Right. Yeah.
They only do that when you have clearance for security. She didn't have clearance for that, so it's far-fetched.
Yeah.
He's so used to doing it on Apprentice, and she was on The Apprentice. So she learned from him.
That's right. But the difference being on The Apprentice, Trump didn't have John Kelly to fire her.
No, but they're saying
he had to do it himself.
They were saying on the news last night that, how dare her? I said, well, she learned it from him. He protected himself. She was doing the same thing. Good for her.
Right. No, she did say that because she wanted to, it was always her goal to mirror his behavior and really model herself after him in that way.
Cohen was the same way. As his attorney,
that's right.
He realized, he knew Trump better than we did. And he said, someday I'll need to protect myself because I'm going to be he's going to tell on me.
You're right.
It won't be him.
Yeah.
And look what it's going to do today. So,
Yeah. So what happens to Manafort now? Do you think Trump pardons him? What's your prediction? I predict no. I think Trump abandons him.
If Trump pardons him, it's putting him further down. Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to anger even his own people.
Yeah, I think that's why.
If he gets charged guilty for all these crimes, and Trump were to pardon him, I cannot understand where his supporters would say, "Well, they can do no wrong." It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I predict
there is a limit there where you cross the line. That would be crossing the line.
I predict he does not pardon Manafort. He just lets him. just because of the way he talks about, like he's talked about him like, oh, it's unfair what's happening to him, but then he also talks about him like, hey, it worked for me for like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, and
in reality, it was 5 months. But
4 or 5 months, and then they brought it up to 2 months and 2 weeks. I'm saying, why don't you say 1 day while you're at it? I mean, really?
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
He just stopped by the campaign for a cup of coffee. I don't know what you
he
people
was
are
in
all
charge of the
upset about.
convention and
Right,
the
yeah.
RNC for a while, and and then he was part of the first White House, not as a staff member, but he was part of the vetting.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
come on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, we are out of time. Glenn R.J. Ouellette, thank you so much. And thank you to Katie Dobbins for coming in and playing for us and getting to talk to her. That was great. KatieDobbinsMusic.com is her website. If you missed any part of today's show, it'll be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. And that's it. I'm out of here for now. I will talk at y'all a little bit later. Bye,
Au
everybody.
revoir.
Is that how you say that in French? Au revoir?
Yes, au
Okay.
revoir.
Au revoir. Bye, everybody.